1 minute.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock now. Ready then, good.
We can start whenever you're ready then.
Okay, the call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission on Wednesday, April 21st, 2021 at 7 p.m. Reading an open statement first. Planning and Zoning Commission is an independent advisory body of the City of Ames City Council. The Planning and Zoning Commission members are volunteers of the community and not part of the city administration. The commission is responsible for the preparation and adoption of official comprehensive plan of the city and gives advice and recommendations on matters involving amendments to the zoning ordinance and the historic preservation ordinance and guidelines, subdivisions, annexation master plans, and major site development plans, and developments within the Ames urban fringe areas. As an advisory commission, we welcome all comments and questions. We make our recommendations based on code, the facts presented, and input from the public. If proceedings become lengthy, we may ask that comments be focused on new information not previously presented. You may speak only once on an agenda item. Just note for the chair, you have ability to, prior to the start of an item, to identify a allotted time per speaker. If you wish to speak, we will ask for individuals to use the raise hand function within the Zoom meeting or use a *9 on their telephone and use *6 to unmute. Please state your name and address for the record prior to making any comments. Note for the chair, the following can be read at the beginning of the meeting as part of the introduction or prior to the start of the first agenda item when people are more focused on the matter at hand. The order of the proceeding for each item on the agenda will be as follows. City staff will present the staff report regarding the agenda item. Commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of city staff. The applicant will be invited to make a statement regarding the request. Commission members will have an opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Members of the audience will be invited to come forward to offer comments and questions. Once the public comment is closed, city staff and the applicant will have an opportunity for concluding remarks. The commission will discuss the application based on all presentations and any comments given and come to a recommendation for the city council. The discussion may include further questions of city staff and the applicant for clarification. With that, we'll move to the first item on the agenda. Introductions of the commission members. I'm John Emery.
Mike Clayton.
Doug Regeller.
Ruth Holstrom. Anoop Friedman-Haas.
Okay, it seems like the only one we're missing is Carol Spencer today. Okay, item number 3, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Ruth Holstrom. Ruth Holstrom, I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Hearing no nays, approved. Approval of item number 4, approval of the minutes of the April 7th, 2021 meeting. I will entertain a motion.
This is Ruth Holstrom. I would move to approve.
This is Jen Spencer. I move to second.
Okay, Ruth moves to approve and Jen Dancer seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing no nays, it's approved. Item number 5, the public forum. Do we have any audience members, Kelly?
We do not. We have 2 people representing the applicant for our public hearing, no other members of the public.
Okay. Does anybody having no public audience? We'll move on to item number 6. Public hearing for the rezone with master plan for 5571 Hyde Avenue, formerly Rose Prairie. Kelly, all yours.
I'm going to have Julie Gould as the project manager present the item.
Julie?
Good evening, Commission. Tonight we have a rezoning with a master plan, amendment to the master plan. A master plan is approved as part of a rezoning application in certain situations. So when there are proposed changes to that master plan, it goes through the rezoning process, review and approval process. So that's why we're here tonight. This is about 170 acres located on the southwest corner of Hyde Avenue and West 190th Street. This piece of ground initially came into the city back in 2010 and known as Rose Prairie Development. There has been no development on the site up to this point. And it should be pointed out that the developers have decided on a name change, so it'll be now referred to as Hayden's Preserve instead of Rose Prairie moving forward after this meeting, from this meeting on. Like I said, this was originally brought into the city in 2010 and approved with a development agreement between the developer and the city. That agreement came back in 2016 before City Council for some amendments to it that changed the rezoning and the master plan to exist in the way you see it today, with that commercial piece in the corner, the northeast corner, some FSRM and some FSRL, and some other changes to the agreement. Most recently, back in March, the developer came before the City Council and has requested again for a few changes to this development agreement that was done in 2010 and amended in 2016 to hopefully, to address the changes that they want to make and hopefully to lower their development costs and make the project a little more feasible, with maybe even starting yet this year. The requests that went to City Council for changes to the development agreement, only a few of those impacted the master plan development. One of those is the residential units. There are, if you look at the proposed master plan, back in 2016, it was approved with a maximum of 620 residential units be spread between the different residential types: single family detached, single family attached, and multifamily. The amount of land that is zoned FSRM and FSRL is not changing, but the developable area of land is changing slightly with some of these changes. There is a portion, it's pod 10 on both of the 2016 and this new proposed plan was mostly single family detached with a small area of single family attached. That has been changed. That area will now all be single family detached. There's a small cul-de-sac added to the south part of the area along Hyde Street and parcel 8 is what it's referred to in the 2020 exhibit. And that gives them, with this layout, without finalized details and platting, about 8 to 10 more units over there. The actual number of single family detached homes proposed will fall within the allowed density range for FSRL, but there's a slight increase of actual units. As far as the FSRM goes, again, it will still fall within the allowed density requirements for FSRM. the only number changing is that maximum number, and it's decreasing slightly. Other than that, there are no real changes to residential units. The area that is FSRM, some of it will have apartment, multifamily, and in FSRM, you can do no more than 12 units together. That will require a major site plan, so you'll see more on that, more detail with that area of the plan later. Other changes that were made were to the street layout. Again, that cul-de-sac on parcel 8 that extends to the south is a new small extension. There was a east-west connector street through the site that was just to the north on the north end of parcel 8, and it was going to connect all the way over to that main north-south road through the site. The developer has requested that be removed, allowed to be removed, for a couple of reasons. One is design to get it over the waterway, and the cost that may have been associated with that, and the maintenance of a creek crossing. Staff has, since 2010, especially since 2010 and some of 2016, we refer to this area as the North Growth area, so that other subdivisions have developed. So looking at reevaluating the North Growth area, and our city traffic engineer looking at traffic volumes and how they've changed, our transportation plan and future plan growth scenarios, we feel that it wasn't detrimental to the site to remove that road. So staff is supportive of that connection being taken out. So the only road that will continue through the entire site is that northwest connection north-south from West 190th down to a future development to the south. Other changes are more to our stormwater and trail and park related. Hayden's Preserve will be a conservation subdivision, and it'll have to comply with all of those ordinance standards. This is because it is so close to the Ada Hayden and does impact that watershed. Typically, in a lot of subdivisions, you will see one or two large wet bottom ponds to help treat that stormwater. Hayden's Preserve will be a little different. It's going to have several smaller areas that may or may not hold water. As we get into the final stormwater design with the preliminary platting phase, some of these locations and of those green hatched areas may change in location and size and shape. It's intended to work with the topography. So they're depending on the water flow and depression areas and topography, you may see some changes in that in the future of some small details. Otherwise, that was pretty much the main change to the stormwater. The conservation subdivision ordinance also encourages this pod-like layout that you're seeing with the development and trail connections throughout the development and more open space than you might normally see in a subdivision. There will be an extensive trail system throughout the development. Some of it will be HOA maintained, some of it will be part of the city trail system. One of the newer things is it's kind of hard to see the hatched area, but the yellow line that runs all the way from Hyde Avenue at parcel 8 at that south cul-de-sac all the way across to the west boundary. That is a city greenway corridor. So this will be a shared use path that the city thought was necessary and beneficial to our trail connection and to this development to be part of the design. There is a small creek crossing that this trail will make. The details for that will be worked out, but it will most likely have a shared cost with the city to get that done and design based on the design. We don't know what those costs might be yet. Parcel 14 is a proposed city park. Initially, it was just over 5 acres. It's now just slightly under that at, let's see, it's 4.8, I believe now. This is intended to be a neighborhood park, and that size does still fall within what the city deems as acceptable size for a neighborhood park. The timing of this park going in will be worked out with this development agreement that the developer's working on with staff. It will depend on how the project gets phased. One of the biggest changes with this park is the timing of it. Because of the length that this project has been approved with these development agreements and no development actually occurring. I think initially the park was supposed to be completed around 2023. And there's concern that they won't make that deadline. So one of the requests in the development agreement is to extend that timeline. Staff, you did get an updated exhibit emailed to you today. Everything that staff was concerned about notation-wise has been addressed. One of those was that developable area label in the table to make it more clear that that was actually developable area that it was referring to and not the zoning area, the area zoned. Also, there's a parcel 5 and 6. The colors initially came in as the same as 3 and 4, so it was hard to discern the housing type. So those colors really identify housing type. So we had them make that clarification. So I believe that was the 2 main ones that we felt were necessary. So with that, staff can answer any questions you might have, and we're recommending approval. You will see a preliminary plat come forward, so there may be some small changes to street layout and residential lot layout, but for the most part, it will align with this master plan that you see here.
Julie, this is Ruth Holstrom. I just have a quick question. So this follows obviously the rezoning process. Was public notice sent to anyone in the surrounding area, or was that addressed at all?
Yep. So we do the same public noticing as we do for a rezoning, a normal rezoning. So that was everyone within 200 feet, and they will get a public notice. They will send another one out again for the public hearing at City Council.
Okay.
I didn't have anybody contact me, so.
There's
Okay.
very few people within 200 feet of this property, though.
Yeah, I just had seen that it was contentious in 2016. I mean, obviously the reason for that was a change in density, but I just wanted to confirm that if public notice was needed, that did occur and that there were no issues. Thank you.
Some of those contentious items aren't changing for the most part, though. In 2010, what was contentious in 2010 was that increased in unit numbers, that maximum unit number of 620, which is still the same, and the commercial node, and so that's staying the same too. There's no changes to the commercial node with this master plan amendment.
Thank you. Yep.
Julie, this is Jen Stancer. I just wanted to ask a quick question about the trail that goes along Hyde Avenue. Is it correct that trail will go beyond just the bounds of this parcel, and it will go into the neighboring parcel as well as part of this development? Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, I did forget to mention that. So it will be a phased installation of that shared use path. It will go, everything along Hyde will go in about a half mile from 190th down to the south. We'll go in with the first phase of development. The timing across this piece that's not part of the development is called Sturgis property. We refer to it as the Sturgis property. That's the property owner that's not part of Hayden's Preserve, and it's also not part of the future development to the south, but we want to make sure there wasn't a gap there. So that the timing is going to be such that it works out with the development of Hayden's Preserve and the south subdivision, but we don't know what that exactly is yet.
All right, thank you.
Okay, it's John Emery. I have a question. Has the coal mine issue been addressed for this area? If you go back to attachment A, there used to be a coal mine. It's either in the Hayden Preserve or towards the southern end of it, or down in the Hunsaker area. It's that been checked on? You know, we don't want what's happened down in Des Moines to happen up here, where we have sinkholes.
Yeah, I guess I'm not aware of any previous mines in this area. I believe that I don't know that we have a formal process to address those. I'm sure that the developer, when they are doing their research for their lot layout, street layout and soil types for stormwater, I'm sure some of that would come up if it was a concern, but something that we can check on.
The city doesn't have any review process for if there's any mines that are in the area. As Ames goes farther north and west, I know there is more mines. I don't know exactly where they were at, but I'm pretty sure there was one somewhere right in this area.
We don't as part of the rezoning review, and I don't recall anything specifically stated in the subdivision, but yeah, we can definitely, like I said, we'll definitely look into that. And if it's an issue, we can address it with preliminary platting.
Anybody else have any?
This is Mike Clayton. A real quick question. It would likely predate my involvement with the commission, but the Hunsaker property to the south, if you look at attachment B, it appears as though there's a plat that's already been submitted for that area. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, there's a plat they've submitted. They've started their development review process where they go through the staff level review. I don't know exactly. I think where it's at as far as coming forward before the commission. Kelly probably does.
So okay. There is not an approved plat for the property to the south. The old master plan exhibit included a concept drawing that had been discussed about 5 or 6 years ago. That's not necessarily currently the plans for that area. So there's no to the south, nor is there a plat that's been approved for the area to the south.
Okay.
Here, but it hasn't been done yet.
The reason I was asking is that it didn't show. It looked like there was a way to get over to Hyde from the south end of the subject property here. So that anybody that would want to get over to Hyde Avenue would still be able to do that. But I guess that remains to be seen what their final plat looks like.
With the Hunsaker property, it's going to be called the Auburn Trail Project. There will be a connection that Spine Street that runs north-south to Rose Prairie is a collector street, and it will be routed back over to Hyde. It won't just connect straight south into the neighborhood that exists to the south.
Okay, good.
But there will be a connection between parcel, I can't see it, so small. What is it, 6 and 8?
I'm looking at. Yeah, so along Hyde Street, Hayden's Preserve will have 3 actual connections, but it will all be single family detached or single family attached units that connect to Hyde, just in parcel 5 and 8. That'll be the only direct access from Hayden's Preserve onto Hyde Avenue.
And then farther down with like what you're saying, in Hunsaker property, it will connect to Hyde down south.
Correct.
Okay.
It might not be as shown in exhibit, in the previous, the 2016 plan, but there will be one.
That's great. This is Jens, and I think in that exhibit B or attachment B, it shows like a little bit of a disconnect on that second street to the west. Just kind of looks like it cuts off there, and then it shows a little cul-de-sac. But you're saying that that's just a very preliminary plat that's not approved.
Yeah, don't focus on that at all.
Yeah.
There's no plans that you can look at for the south.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other commission members wish to ask a question? Hearing none, we invite the applicant to make a statement regarding the request.
Casey, I'm moving you over. If you want to unmute, you can speak to the commission. See, Jake has his hands up. Do you want Jake to speak?
Either one is fine with me. Hey, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
So this is Casey Schaefbo with ATI Group, representing the developer. And I don't have a ton to add. I think that was a good presentation of the project. We are making some strategic change or requesting some strategic changes, not wanting to increase density, but maybe move some units around is really the objective, and then make a few changes to timing and just some details of the project and how it would move forward, just to ensure that we can bring forward a successful project. So not a ton of big changes, but I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have for me.
Well, again, I'll ask if you've found out anything about the coal mines in that area.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I looked at it as you were talking. I went to the map online and I pulled up this area, and there is a coal mine shaft, but it's shown on the property to the south. So it's the next property to the south where a coal mine shaft shows up.
And I know that they said that the map is not super accurate. I just didn't know if you'd found out anything about it in the process of platting this out.
So it did not show up in any of our environmental work that we've done. So this is kind of a restart on the project. We've entered in and waded into this project a couple different times. And so we've done quite a bit of environmental work, and none of that has showed up in soils reports or anything like that either. But then, just looking at the maps currently, I can see what you're talking about. And there is something in the area. It's just farther south than our project. But I will for sure look at it in a little more detail here and consult with some folks who may understand that stuff a little bit better than I do.
Thank you. Any other questions for Casey? Hearing none, members of the audience are invited to come forward to offer comments or questions. I see somebody just popped up a little bit ago.
We don't have any other members in the meeting right now. Jake Becker is an engineer for the applicant.
Okay. Seeing none, then any discussion from the commission? Public comment.
I have a quick question for staff, if this is the right time.
I think if there's no public comment, if you want to close the public hearing and move into commission discussion, that's fine.
Okay, public comment is closed. City staff and applicant will have an opportunity for closing remarks. But commission, any comments?
Yeah, this is Anu here again. Sorry for missing the time earlier there and interrupting in the middle. But Kelly and Julie, with this whole maybe existence of coal mines in the area, is there something that you can what can you tell us? Like, how might that play into the overall site area? And that's number one. And number two, what are the next steps for this property as it goes forward before the actual construction kind of begins? If you could run that timeline through as well. Thank you.
On the coal mine, I really can't say. We'll have to go back and talk to other people. It hasn't never come up before. So I think a lot of it's going to be incumbent on the geotechnical work of an applicant as part of the preliminary plat, or possibly even when they're getting ready for building permits with single family homes. So we'll talk with Casey some more and see what needs to be known there. From that map that we looked up, it's not a precise location. It's a relative location to a quarter section. So there's a little more work to investigate, but I can't tell you what that outcome is going to be right now. In terms of next steps, if the commission recommends moving forward with this tonight, then we'll be going to the city council in May, and we will have the development agreement amendments accompany the rezone and master plan request. Assuming that city council is amenable to those changes and approves that, the applicant would then move forward with a preliminary plat to move forward with possibly 1 to up to 3 phases of the development as we understand it today.
Okay. Would you then recommend that there might be some time built in to look at the geotech report and see what the findings come through from the coal mine perspective before all of this moves forward?
I would not. I would move forward with the zoning and look at it as a preliminary plat issue.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not sure what it would affect right now. So I'm not sure the site's already zoned for essentially all of the development that's proposed tonight. It's a road location and some other details. So I think those kinds of issues can be addressed as part of the rezoning process. And then when we get into the preliminary plats, really when we start to look at the grading components, the natural resource inventory, and some of the soil issues. And that would be a better time to have an understanding of potential concerns about the soil stability.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, then, Commission, do you have any discussion on the application based on all the presentations and any comments given? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Ruth Holton. I just wanted to clarify one final thing with staff. So, because the applicant resubmitted the master plan exhibit, is the recommendation that they proposed before changed potentially now to essentially number never mind. We would just kind of essentially recommend approval without the condition to provide the updated master plan exhibit, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think you can just make the recommendation without that condition, since we have it. Staff has it. You've seen it. They've addressed all of our concerns, so you can definitely leave that one off now.
Okay, thanks, Julie. Yeah, so I guess I would move to essentially recommend that the city council approve the request for the amendment to the master plan.
You mean the Planning and Zoning Commission, right?
Yes, sorry, not just me, the Planning and Zoning Commission. Thanks, John.
Okay, will you restate your
Yes. So I would move that the Planning and Zoning Commission can recommend that the city council can approve the request for the amendment to the master plan.
Clayton, second.
Okay, having a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none. Alternative 1 is approved. Now, moving on to item number 7 on the agenda. Commission comments. Anybody have any comments? The only comment I really have is as the city moves forward with expanding north and northwest, that coal mine issue will become more of an issue. You know, there was a lot of coal mines up through here, up past where we're at right now. So that's it for me. Anybody else? Seeing none, move on to staff comments. Kelly?
I do not have comments tonight.
Okay. Now we're up to adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Okay, Jen second. Okay, we are adjourned.